wall. 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 you all. wall. Wall.
Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo. It's going to be only America first. America first. The American people will come first once again. With respect, the respect that we deserve. From this day forward, it's going to
Good evening, everybody. We're watching America First. My name is NickJFuentes. We have a great show for you tonight. Very excited to be with you this evening. It is Casual Friday. Finally, TGIF, right? Everybody, Casual Friday. We have the casual look, and we're going to have a very low-key, just chill, hangout stream for you. I have to tell you, I'm feeling good. I woke up totally vindicated. I see Ben Shapiro on the BBC getting blown out. For the first time, finally, the shoe seems to be on the other foot. He gets destroyed, as the show is titled, Ben Shapiro Destroyed, by a BBC journalist. So we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about a couple of other things. Border crossings at an all-time high. They say that in the last 122 days, we've had more illegal immigrants come across the border than in the past 13 years. So we're going to look at that, some other numbers which are troubling to say the least. We'll look at a migrant ship in Africa, which went down off the coast of Tunisia, and we'll talk about the general situation there. And that should bring us to the end. Should be, like I said, a pretty mellow, low-key show. I'm tired. I've had a long week. It went by so fast, though, didn't it? I feel like the week just went by. We've been saying for weeks and weeks, like, oh, it's the black pill year, black pill month, black pill weeks. Days that just don't end. But I don't know, this one in particular just felt like we just zipped right by. So I don't know, maybe that's because there wasn't any like real substantial happenings. That could probably be it. But it's been, I guess that's a good thing. I guess it's a good thing for the world. Kind of rough for the show when there's not much to talk about, right? But that's okay. Before we get into anything, I just want to give an update on our censorship situation. We actually saw another person kicked off. And I didn't see too many people talking about it. I didn't know who this individual was, but a writer called Chateau Artiste. I think that's how you say it. I guess that's a French pseudonym. But this is apparently some pickup artist, writer, who also does polemical writing. And he got banned from WordPress. I saw that this afternoon, which only highlights the problem that we've been looking at for the past week, which is what I've been talking about. You know, Fox News and the mainstream conservative media, they're fixating right now on Google or Facebook, or they're looking at Twitter, and they say, well, conservatives are getting banned from social media. And I think it's actually easy for people to dismiss the problem when we're just looking at social media. Of course, it's not just that. Of course, it's all the back-end stuff, which I've been saying for a long time. And I don't think the boomers really understand all that. You know, they say, oh, well, you kids and your social media, try going outside for 5 minutes, you know, maybe it's a good thing. But then you realize, no, they're actually coming for everything else, too. They're even coming for, if you want to have your own separate independent website, you know, they say just make your own site, right? Just make a blog. Well, here you have this writer who, again, I'm not familiar with him totally, but I guess he was ostensibly right-wing. They say on Rational Wiki he was a white nationalist. I don't really know. You know, they call me a white nationalist, so I don't know to what extent that is the case, but obviously right-wing, obviously politically incorrect views on many subjects. Kicked off WordPress, of all places, so you can't even have, you know, I don't really know exactly what they do. I guess you go on there. I have a WordPress site. I guess you like, it's a web, what would you even call that? They like set up the website, they host. I'm not sure the technological vocabulary, but you know, he had a website on WordPress and now it's gone. And it's because he had the wrong views. So just another day, another shekel, another right-wing white guy kicked off the internet and no action. So I guess we start with a little bit of a black pill. We start the show with a little bit of a black pill. But like I said, it is a good day. It is an exciting day because of what happened to Ben Shapiro. And I was actually, I don't know, I was a little bit disappointed. You know, I wake up this afternoon, actually. I hate to say it. I wake up this afternoon, actually. And I saw somebody tweeting at me in a DM group, and they were like, oh, is Nick asleep, or is he just, like, doing something else? But did he hear about Shapiro? And I'm like, what happened to Shapiro, you know? And I'm looking all over. I'm looking at Twitter Moments. I'm Googling. And it wasn't like what I had hoped had happened, you know, maybe a big scandal or something else, you know, I don't know. But it turns out that he just gets blown out in this BBC interview. It was actually pretty good. It was a 16-minute interview that they released. And this is from the Daily Beast. Not my favorite source, but they're the one talking about it today. It says, quote, right-wing commentator Ben Shapiro stormed out of a contentious BBC interview on Thursday after accusing the conservative host of being a leftist and bragging about how popular he is during the pre-taped interview with BBC interviewer Andrew Neil promoting his new book, The Right Side of History. Shapiro quickly became perturbed when Neil, who is known for playing devil's advocate, pressed him on recent attempts to roll back abortion rights, asking the editor-in-chief of clickbait Rage Factory, The Daily Wire, okay, this is editorializing from the beast, if those policies would take America back to the, quote, dark ages. So, if you haven't seen it, I don't know, it wasn't like the Grand Slam. Like, I was expecting it to be a serious, I mean, it was a meltdown. It was unfortunate for Shapiro. But it wasn't, I don't think, the Grand Slam we were looking for. But I think you look at that interview, 16 minutes, and you can tell this guy hadn't prepared. You could tell that right from the get-go, just by his answers, they really weren't put together. The sentence structure, he seemed a little bit frazzled from the get-go, which is not typical. Usually he's on top of things, fast-talking, And so you could tell from the get-go something's off. I don't know, he seems flustered to an extent. And the interview drags on for 16 minutes. It's the last minute which really, I think you could tell he was not doing so hot. He starts to accuse the guy of being left-wing. He says, I don't know who you are. And he storms out of the interview, cuts the interview off. And this is a very big moment for this show. Very big moment for America First, because this vindicates what we've been saying about little Benjamin Shapiro forever, which is you put this guy up in a debate with literally any adult human being. Maybe a political adult human being, but an adult person, and this is the result, right? And I've experienced this for so long where people have told me, maybe back more when I was on Right Side Broadcasting, I was a little bit more of a normie, and as such I had more of a normie audience. I would get a lot of people who would say, oh, Nick, sure, Ben Shapiro's Israel first, or sure, maybe you don't agree on everything, but you gotta admit, he's one hell of a debater. But you gotta admit, he's a damn good debater. And it just goes to show, you put him against a journalist, you put him against, again, any adult, and this is the result, just absolute catastrophe. Because the reason he gets this reputation as, oh, he's Ben Shapiro, he'll cut anybody down to size, he's so fast and smart. Who does he debate? He goes across the country to colleges and debates teenagers. He debates kids. He debates some 19-year-old girl, a woman, of course, who says, so actually, what about, abortion, and I have a right to choose and all that? And Ben Shapiro defeats these people because, they're teenagers. But anybody, and I'm talking anybody from the left or from the right, challenges him. I saw Secular Talk, who is, what's his real name? It's like Kyle something, I think. Secular Talk was tweeting about this. He said, hey, maybe that's why Ben Shapiro ducked my debate, because this is what happens. And he's been ducking me in a debate, and he ducks everybody on a debate. I was hoping, again, the subject matter was different. I was hoping somebody was going to ask him about, Israel or about Judeo-Christian values or something like that. I was hoping the substance was a little bit more meaty. It just seems like he was having a bad day. It just seems like he was having an off day, which, I guess everybody has an off day from time to time. But nonetheless, it proves the point. And I think that'll be the day. I think somebody asked me not too long ago, they said, who is your number one rival? Who would you say is the number one story arc, the number one foil in the America First universe? I think if we ultimately got into a showdown, a confrontation with Ben Shapiro, I think that would be the one. I have this feeling, and I'm typically one to signal against this kind of thinking, this sort of climactic, what I call eschatology, Wignat eschatology, the idea of, this grand battle, this grand war, a great awakening, and a revolution, or, something like that. But I have a strong feeling that if Ben Shapiro and I ever did have a debate, it would be something akin to some biblical confrontation. If I were to defeat him with facts and logic, the nation would rise up. There would be some serious changes being made. I don't know, we would add to the tally. Perhaps you know what I'm talking about. We might add to the tally. Something may happen where we'd say, hey, there's another one out of 100 and so many. But I feel like if I were to get him in a debate, I were to defeat him resoundingly with factual, logical arguments, it would be like Dragon Ball Z. The whole planet is leveled and the people rise up. But I don't think that'll ever happen. I don't think that'll ever happen. I guess this is the best we're gonna get, is right-wing BBC journalists sort of embarrassing him. But anyway, that's not really news, but it is a little feather in our cap. It is a nice feel-good story on a Friday, because it's been black pills our whole lives, basically, been black pills all year. So it's nice to get a little Friday surprise. We got the Friday feeling, you know. Ben Shapiro getting blown out. He was a good sport about it, though. He tweeted about it. He said, oh, yeah, I guess, this Andrew Neil guy destroyed me in a debate. Andrew Neil won, Ben Shapiro 0. And so he tweeted about it. He was kind of a good sport, which made me a little bit mad. I wanted him to melt down more, but what are you going to do, right? So that's Ben Shapiro, kind of a dud. Wasn't the exciting moment we were hoping for, but that's okay. I guess it's a nice little thing to wake up to as opposed to, what we're about to talk about, which is the real news. I guess we'll start with what's happening domestically and then talk about the African migrant ship in the Mediterranean. But they are related, and we're going to get into, I think, more general arguments about what's happening here. But right out of the gate, it's every week we have a number like this. This is from the Washington Examiner. It says, quote, the Department of Homeland Security is forecasting that border apprehensions of illegal immigrants will surpass the totals of the last 13 years in just 122 days, prompting a new push for President Trump's $4.5 billion in emergency funding to handle the crisis. So they say that this is an average of 3,891 illegal immigrants every day, according to immigration officials. You've had more in 122 days than in the last 13 years. And it really just begs the question, what is going on in the White House? And this is where I was a little bit stumped with Jesse Lee Peterson. We talked on Wednesday, and we went into this a little bit. Jesse Lee Peterson, still a staunch Trump supporter, and I see a lot of people still on the Trump train on Twitter, and some even in my comments. Every now and again we'll get the occasional boomer, the occasional senior citizen who will sort of wander into the America First comment section like a lost dog or some lost child in Walmart or something, and they'll say, well, this isn't pro-Trump, this guy must be some kind of a leftist, these never-Trumpers are out of control, But how can you continue to be a Trump supporter when this is what's happening? It just blows me away. Because what was the promise? It was they were all going back, and now it seems like double are coming in. The promise in the campaign was, you're going back, you have to go back, we're going to deport all, however many millions are here. They say it's 13, could be 24, could be 40, frankly, illegal immigrants. But he said they're all going back. Somehow it's gotten worse. It's worse and as bad as the last 13 years put together. More illegals and 3,891 illegal immigrants per day. I mean, let that sink in. Almost 4,000 per day. And I had somebody say to me the other day, a couple of days ago when we were talking about the Israel-Palestine situation, just to give you an idea, I had somebody tell me when the Palestinians in Gaza were sending rockets over into Israel, and I was saying, it's interesting that, and this was the message on Monday, it was, why is it that all these politicians like Rubio and others, pundits like Ben Shapiro, why is it that they seem to be so much more concerned with what's happening with Israel and defending Israel's right to defend their borders and defending Israel's right to defend their sovereignty, but they don't really care about our own border? And I had some boomers say, well, we don't have 600 rockets coming in every day. Yeah, we only have 4,000 illegal immigrants coming in every day. Which do you think is worse? I don't know about you. I would prefer the rockets, frankly. If it's a choice between 4,000 illegal immigrants every day coming across the border, 4,000 every day versus 600 rockets, I'm taking the rockets. Because rockets don't come over the border pregnant. A rocket comes in and it blows up, and okay, that's not good. It's not good to have rockets come in, but the rocket flies over and then the rocket's done. That's the lifespan of the rocket. The illegal immigrant comes in, and by the way, it's, 3 times as many, 3 times more human beings than rockets. The illegal immigrant comes in and they stay for 100 years. And then they have 3 or 4 children. So it's like if the rocket came into Israel and the rocket went to school and the rocket had healthcare services and the rocket came with the rocket's autistic son so that the rocket's son could get hospital treatment in a modern medicine facility, and then there were 5 more rockets. If it was like an exponentially increasing problem and had the same longevity, then maybe it'd be comparable. It's like, yeah, you're right. There aren't 600 rockets coming in. It's actually much worse. Multiples of that are coming in the form of people, and the people are killing, they buy guns, they go to the schools, they go to the hospitals, they leech off of the taxpayer money, they have kids that do the same. I have an 85 IQ, that's kind of something to say. So it's 2 prongs here. Our problem is illegal immigration. This has been going on for 25 years. The other problem is the administration. So it's kind of like two angles here. On the one hand, you have to wonder, like, this has to stop. This is unprecedented that something like this has ever happened. This kind of mass movement of peoples in the world. But on the other hand, it's what is this administration doing about it? I mean, yeah, we've greenlit the funds, but understand, we have constructed 0 new miles of border barrier since he got into office. And I've said this a lot. People don't believe me. 0 new miles of barrier. And I actually pulled up the numbers for when I talked to Jesse Lee Peterson. We didn't get a chance to go into it into detail. But when Trump got into office, there was something like 654 miles of barrier on the border. Border's about 2,000 miles long, about 650 miles. You had some form of barrier. And a lot of it wasn't good barrier. It was like chain link fence or other kinds of vehicle exclusive barriers that weren't even intended to keep out people. So it's a little bit sort of, and they say, well, there's already 650 miles. Kind of disingenuous, right? 600 miles is like a start. To this day, 0 new miles beyond that. It's still the 650. Anytime you see a video of new wall being put up, it's replacement or enhancement or modification, but that's not new barrier. They have funded 33 miles of new wall. So when they say, oh, well, we got this money from the government shutdown, and I hear a lot of boomers saying, no, but they have the money, the wall's going up, this kind of thing. 33 new miles have been greenlit. About half the money is going to replacement projects in Tucson and San Diego. The new mile is going up in the Rio Grande Valley region, 33 miles. 33 out of 2,000. So it's 650 before he gets into office. And when this wall is constructed, I think it'll be done maybe in like the fall. So 2.5 years into the administration, 3 years since the election, we'll have gone from 650 out of 2,000 miles to 680 out of 2,000 miles. Is that really fantastic? And I guess you can't put all the blame on the president. We talked about during the government shutdown extensively what could have been done. Veto the funding bill, prolong the government shutdown as long as possible, make Mitch McConnell override it. I mean, we went over that in great, great detail for like weeks when that was going on. I don't think you can put it all at the feet of the president. We've talked about the real problem with it, which is the asylum seekers, even if the wall goes up. And that's partially the problem. I read even in the Examiner, it says, because of these numbers, and Border Patrol's putting out these numbers, they're urging the president and they're urging Congress to speed up this allocation of the emergency funds to put up the wall. The wall really doesn't solve this problem. The 4,000 illegals coming in every day, I mean, that's obviously problematic, but, a big part of that problem, as we've been saying, this new wave of immigration is the asylum seekers. Because even the people that are getting in, so long as they're potential sponsors, this is why we can blame a lot of it on Trump, because of the funding bill, so long as they're sponsors of minors or potential sponsors of minors, they're immune from legal persecution. They can't be deported. You can't even initiate deportation proceedings against them. So it's a really comprehensive problem. It's not as simple anymore as just putting up a barrier. Now you have to change the asylum laws. Now you have to enhance the security in the ports of entry. You have to change the law about immunity for protected minors. You have to increase the amount of detention space. You have to increase the amount of ICE officers and immigration judges so you can go over a lot of these applications and a lot of immigration cases. So it's a multi-pronged approach. I guess we were a little bit naive if anybody assumed this, that the president was going to be able to solve it in its entirety or even make a lot of headway in the amount of time that's transpired in 2 years. But nevertheless, it's a big disappointment. So that's happening in our country. So keep that in the back of your head. Now we're looking what's happening in Europe. There was a migrant ship that sunk off the coast today. It was one of the deadliest, I guess, in recent memory or in general history. This is according to BBC. It says, quote, at least 65 migrants have died after their boat capsized in the Mediterranean off the coast of Tunisia. And this is according to a UN refugee agency. So again, they say this is a terrible tragedy. Okay, it's one of the deadliest migrant boat capsizings in a long time. 65 migrants died. And they say the detail of this is that they're all sub-Saharan African. They say that they all came from sub-Saharan Africa. There were like 15 survivors. They said that they came up from, various countries, and it's important to distinguish. In northern Africa, you have Arabs. In sub-Saharan Africa, you have, your typical, your traditional, the classic model of black African, right? So what happens is they're in these black African countries in south of the Sahara Desert. They come up, and where they depart from is Libya. And this is where it all kind of comes together. What we've been talking about with foreign policy. We talk about Venezuela, a little bit different. But we talk about what happens in Libya. We talk about what happens in Syria, in Iraq. This is where it all kind of comes together. They're in sub-Saharan Africa. They come up to the north, and then they leave from Libya. Why are they able to do that? Because Libya doesn't have a functioning government. So they go up through Libya. Libya is a total state of lawless anarchy, so they're able to walk right through. They come up with these dinghies, these small little life rafts. They leave the coast. Conventionally what happens, and this is what has been driving the migrant crisis in Europe for the past 5 or 10 years, has been that the UN agencies like this, or NGOs, or human rights organizations, they will come up to the coast of Libya, and we've talked about this, I think the most recent time, the last time we talked about this was when that migrant set that school bus on fire in Italy protesting the migrant drownings. Typically, a refugee agency they'll drive their boat right up against the coast of Libya where these people capsize because they're small boats, pick them up, and they bring them right over to Europe. They used to bring them to Italy because Italy was geographically the closest to Libya, the shortest distance across the Mediterranean. And this is what's been driving the crisis. And so it kind of plays into a little bit of the foreign policy lens. You can see where maybe that plays a little bit of a role, where that probably plays a big role. Why we went over into Libya, we knocked out the government, and maybe you have to ask yourself a question. Why did they go after Libya? Why did they go after Muammar Gaddafi? As we go into this migrant crisis, as we see that millions of people are coming into Europe every year, and Faith Goldie actually got banned from Facebook for posting these numbers, but you look at the numbers of, how the demographics are going to change in all the European countries over the next 100 years, and really have to ask yourself, you got to wonder, gee, is that a coincidence? Did that happen by accident? Muammar Gaddafi in Libya. Now, the justification, if you remember, Libya was a stable, totally safe country for decades. Since I think Muammar Gaddafi, he came into power in the early 1970s. It was this big socialist revolution, and he had been in power there for a long time. Now, he was a rogue state, not a good actor, right? Cooperating towards the end of his reign with America and with European governments, but nevertheless, he kept order in the country. That's kind of the key detail. He kept sub-Saharan Africa from blowing right across the northern African countries and coming across the Mediterranean Sea into Europe. In 2011, NATO, Barack Obama, they see the Arab Spring, protests and revolts happening. They see an opportunity. And they say, well, you know what? We're going to oust Muammar Gaddafi unless and until he holds free and fair elections. And Muammar Gaddafi says that's not going to happen. We've got this revolution on our hands. We have to maintain order. NATO goes in. They bomb him. They blow him up. He gets dragged through the streets. It's gruesome if you ever see the video of how he's executed by the people of Libya. And what happens in the meantime? Then all the sub-Saharan Africans come through. They invade Europe. And then you begin to wonder, was this all an accident? As I grow older, as I see this all falling into place, all these little puzzle pieces coming together, I don't believe it was an accident anymore. I seriously don't believe it was an accident, because you look at something like the Kalergi Plan, you go back a little bit of a ways, where they literally wrote 70 years ago, somebody who was the founding father of the European Union, he got to choose the national anthem of the European Union. He wrote 70 years ago that the ultimate plan for Europe was to create the Eurasian Negroid race, and this was supposed to be some mixed race like slave class in Europe. I don't know, folks. I see it happening every day for the longest time, and I would say on the show, and I think I personally believed, well, this is sort of the confluence of bad acting, and in America, it's about cheap labor, and for the Democrats, it's about votes, and in Europe, I don't know, maybe it's about charity, or maybe there's something else going on, but as it transpires like this, and you see it happening every day, I really have to wonder, was this all by design from the beginning? Did they force these people through? Did they take out Libya to open up the floodgates, fill up Europe with all these people? Because you see the results, right? I wonder if it's all by design. Now, it's worth noting, and this is very important, this is the Mediterranean pill, as I like to call it. A lot of people, they give me a hard time. and they say, oh, Nick, all you do is talk about your Mediterranean heritage, and you countersignal Slavs, and you countersignal Nords, and you countersignal the Anglo, and all these other groups. Very important to note, this is from the BBC. Why has the migrant crisis actually been getting better in recent years? It says thousands of migrants attempt to cross the Mediterranean to Europe every year, and Libya is a key departure point. But since mid-2017, the number of migrant journeys has declined dramatically. 92% decline in migrant arrivals. The decline is largely because Italy has engaged Libyan forces to stop migrants from setting off or to return them to Libya if found at sea, a policy condemned by human rights organizations. So as always, we can thank Italy. As always, we can thank the MAD. You're welcome, Europeans. You're welcome, world. One day Matteo Salvini, the Italians, the Mediterraneans, they will open their eyes the next day to a grateful world that we were able to stop the migrant crisis. But actually, this is, to get serious for a moment, I think this really is a little bit of a game changer, because for the longest time when we looked at the 2016 election, and we looked at what happened in Britain with Brexit also in 2016, I think the general consensus and the general wisdom had it that America was going to save the day. Obviously the greater theme that we're talking about here is migrant crisis. In America, it's coming from the South. Well, it's the global South rising up. This is a very esoteric white pill. It's sort of like the fifth population change, right? But so in America, it's Hispanics, it's Mexicans, it's Central Americans. In Europe, it's Sub-Saharan Africans coming up through the Mediterranean. And for the longest time, the conventional wisdom was America is going to save Europe. Europe is cucked. Europe is blue-pilled. It's worse there than it is in America. If we're ever going to get out of this, and I'm talking about generally European peoples, Western civilization, if you want to call it that, it would be the Americans rising up because they had the gall to elect somebody like Donald Trump, or it's the United Kingdom, who is not really part of continental Europe. They're in the Anglosphere with us. It's going to be these countries that are going to lead the way. They're going to uncuck Europe. But actually, as we've progressed 2 years into it, what has been the change? We see that Donald Trump, that's why I bring up these two stories tonight at the same time. We see Donald Trump has let this problem completely out of control. And there's no viable successor to Trump in America. And that's what we've been talking about for weeks. If Trump can't get it done, there's nobody who's going to come after him that'll get it done. It appears to everybody in the right in America, and I'm not speaking just for myself. I'm speaking for a lot of people that I talk to in media, in politics, from all over the place. The general consensus is Trump was the last shot, He's going to finish up his term or 2 terms or whatever. And maybe something will come at the end of the next term, but people are not even optimistic about 2020 being an easy win. So that was sort of our chance. We blew it. We got to go underground and get creative, or we got to wait for things to change. But, if this is the situation, obviously our migrant crisis is out of control, worsening every day, accelerating, worse than ever in history. We blew it, right? That's been 2 years since Donald Trump gets into office, or 3 years since he gets elected. We look over at Italy, and it's the opposite is happening. We thought in 16, they blew it with Marine Le Pen in France, and they blew it with Merkel in Germany, and with all these other elections happening across the continent. We had it figured out. They didn't. Our wall's going up. Theirs isn't. But the opposite happened. Matteo Salvini gets into office. You get people like Orban. You get a country like Poland, which is strengthening against the European Union. You get an election like you had in, I think it was Denmark recently, an election in Finland this week, which was very red-pilling, which was very successful, right? And so the opposite is happening now, where in Europe, they're cutting their migrant numbers. Like I said, migrant crossings from the Mediterranean Sea down 92%. People like Matteo Salvini rising up. Even in France, you have the Yellow Vest movement. In Germany, you have the AfD party. It's been a little bit disappointing, but they're rising up. A general right-wing sentiment is rising up. I think in Spain, for the first time, one of their right-wing parties has come into their parliament. They're now the 4th largest in the country. And so all across Europe, you see a right-wing reawakening. You see a nativist, a nationalist reawakening. And in America, it seems like it's died off. It seems like Charlie Kirk is more ascendant, And so I think that's really an interesting trend moving into the next couple of years. Perhaps we're going to have to change our strategy as a result. Perhaps that'll change our outlook on the rest of the world and what the future is for European peoples. Will it be people in America people in Canada, people in Australia, sort of reversing the colonial trends of the last so many hundreds of years? Will it be a mass exodus back to Europe? I don't know. But I think it's a very interesting trend because you can see very clearly, and that has always, I think, been the binary, that has always been the comparison, is the African migrant crisis in Europe versus obviously the Hispanic migrant crisis in America. And as always, it has been, well, America's got more time. America's more red-pilled. We have the Republican Party. We don't have the free speech codes. We have the Second Amendment. But it seems like in Europe, the people are waking up there. And I'll say, we always talk about this whenever something is done about the Second Amendment. We always say, well, that's the last best hope, right? And at the end of the day, they can't take our guns. But it's interesting because in America, we have the guns, but we'll never use them. So what good does it really make, right? In Europe, in France, is a perfect example. They don't have the guns, right? They don't even have free speech. And they've got the European Union, and they've got the Rothschilds. Not like we don't have them, but, they originated there. And you've got this entrenched, European plutocracy and, a lot of ancient stuff going on in Europe, right? But in Paris, it doesn't matter that they don't have the guns. It doesn't matter that they don't have the Constitution and the First Amendment. It doesn't matter. They put on the yellow vest, they get in the streets, and they're like, let's kick some ass. We're going to smash windows, we're going to burn cars, or otherwise we're going to peacefully protest. We're going to smash the door through the Treasury Ministry. And there's this sort of lingering prejudice that haunts the continent. Not going to say what it is, but it's always there. There's always an undertone there. And so it's interesting because, as always, the wisdom has been, well, at least in America. But hey, at least in America, I got my AR-15, I got my guns and my First Amendment. It doesn't matter because we don't use it. And so maybe my mentality's just changing. Maybe it's the diet I've been on. Maybe I've been eating healthy and now it's turning my brain upside down. Normally I'm on the Zog Chow, which makes me big and strong and epic. Now I'm eating all this other stuff, these vegetables. It's changing my brain. It's making it into a beta soy cuck. Maybe I'm thinking we have to be more like Europeans. Is that possible? Is that possible that perhaps that might be our only option, to become sort of a passionate, sentimental people like the Europeans and, have some kind of a yellow vest movement, or, God help us, change into some kind of multi-party system? Because clearly whatever it is, they're figuring it out. And I've been told people go to Italy and they're not as far along as we are on the demographic situation. They've got a radical right-wing politics that's viable and it's rising and so on. And I worry now for America. I was always like, Europe's going to be a Muslim country now. Like, you suck. But now we're going to become, we're going to become Mexico too, and Europe is going to become the new Holy Roman Empire. I feel a little bit cheated. So that's my general outlook. I guess that's really the news of the day. Not really all that new. Just trends that we're watching, trends that are changing, things to keep in mind. But really is a little bit blackpilling. I'm kind of bitter and upset about that. We thought we had it all figured out. We thought we had it fixed in America. We were going to elect Donald Trump, and everybody was jealous. And they got better leaders in Brazil. They got better reactionaries in Brazil. They got better reactionaries in the Middle East. They got better reactionaries in Europe. And we're stuck with this guy. We're stuck with Charlie Kirk, President Kushner and Vice President Kirk. It's not fair. And they say they might even put Nikki Haley up as his VP. That's the rumor going around Washington, D.C. currently, is that they'll take Mike Pence out and they'll run Nikki Haley on the ticket in 2020. If that happens, I'm out. I'm done. I'm moving to the bunker, strapping myself in, Minecraft VR. We're going to wait. Or I'll just go back to Italy or something, because it's very blackpilling what's going on in our country. And ultimately, you know what it is actually? Kind of interesting. I think, and I've said this before, the reason I think we'll go downhill as opposed to Europe is because the diversity wasn't as exacerbated as it is in Europe. And I've said this before, but I believe to this day that's ultimately the downfall. That's the curse of the Amerimut, is that when a black, sub-Saharan, Muslim African goes into Europe, it's the contrast that is waking people up, obviously. If there were to be some seismic demographic change in Europe, it would be so visible, it would be so obvious, that now the country is Muslim and black where it used to be white and European. It's literally day and night. It's literally black and white, right? So I think it's a lot easier for people in Europe to wake up because the people that are coming over look so different. They are so different. Their religion is so different. Their religion is producing a lot more negative externalities than maybe what's happening with our immigrants. Our immigrants come over and they look different, but they don't look that different. And there are a lot of them that actually look quite similar. And most of them that come in aren't all that offensive, compared to the Muslims that go on in Europe. You look at a no-go zone versus like a Mexican area in America. Obviously, neither of these are ideal ecosystems, right, in a Western European country, but nevertheless, we can see which is preferable, which is, I guess on a continuum, which is marginally, or in terms of degrees, more diverse or more different or more offensive. And I think ultimately that's the problem with America. For the most part, the people that come in do assimilate better. Not that they're assimilating, but there is more of an assimilation happening than there is in Europe. And as a result, it's a slow boil in America, where in 100 years, people will have that same consciousness, that same realization, like, holy smokes, we live in like the boarding house now. We live in the orphanage of the world. Whereas in Europe, I think they see a handful of them. They see a literal, it's like D-Day, they see a boat land on the shore and 100 Muslim Africans start just running around the city. It's a little bit different, So maybe it got, and look, all that is to say is, look, maybe it got worse there. Maybe that's something to consider. It got worse. The situation is worse in Europe. And as a result of it being worse, things started to happen faster. It really makes you think. The situation in Europe was obviously worse in 2016. Maybe that's the realization. The situation in Europe was worse in 2016, and our situation was better. But as a result of it being bad, and being bad sooner, and being worse overall, then people started to wake up, and they started to say, maybe we should do something about this. Maybe we should say no more. We don't want any more illegal migrants. We don't want mosques in Italy and this kind of thing. Versus America, people said, oh, okay. Oh, cheers. Donald Trump won the election. Back to watching CRTV. Back to watching Fox News. All right, back to work. We did it. We won the election. We're good now. And hey, it doesn't matter. Oh, Trump's wall's going up. We can't stop winning. Hey, Israel's got their wall. From what I understand, something like a wall is coming up on our border as well. Things are going great. I can't wait to vote in 2020. Maybe there's something to it. Now, I've always said the collapse isn't going to happen. Or at least I've always said you can't count on the collapse happening. That's not a backup plan. Can't rely on that happening because you don't know when or if it'll come. However, things getting worse, things deteriorating, perhaps that's the better option. Perhaps that is, and I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything other than what I'm saying. All I'm saying is it got worse in Europe faster. As a result, there was a reaction. Hello! There was a reaction to a very bad trend, a very big and bad crisis. Perhaps in America, there has to be a big and bad crisis. In other words, things have to get worse before they get better. And maybe that's really the white pill. I think that's actually, it may sound like a black pill, but I think maybe the subversive message of hope is things will get bad. Things will get worse. I think that's inevitable at this point. But maybe things getting worse is just one other step. It's four-dimensional chess. That's just one stepping stone as part of the master plan. Things get worse. The people wake up. Something is done. As obviously that's what happened in Italy. But maybe we need the bad thing to happen sooner so that the reaction can come sooner. I guess that's always been the logic. And, I've always sort of been of that mind. I know I got the moniker of the white pilled versus the black pilled. I was always saying Donald Trump probably has our best interest at heart, and so people said you're white-pilled. But I always said things are going to get worse, and, there's nothing we can do about that. Maybe they got to get worse sooner, because I look in Italy, I look at Salvini and Orban, and I look at Bolsonaro, and I don't know about you, but I feel a little cheated. I feel like we didn't really get an adequate reaction. It's not the real deal. We need the real deal, and maybe the only way to have that happen is for everything to come back the other way, but I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon. We're going to live out the last 2 years. I know the Democrats are going to put up somebody totally incompetent. That'll be our luck. In 2020, we're like, maybe he doesn't win, and that's a good thing. Maybe he doesn't win, and that's a good thing. They put up the worst possible candidate. He wins, and we're like, come on, Just when we thought we were freed, we're stuck with this guy, right? So that's what's happening in Europe. It's also, and I will say this in my notes, I forgot to mention this, it's also worth considering who are all these charity organizations that condemn Italy, right? You might have missed this, but it says in BBC, this is a policy roundly condemned by the UN agencies and by the charities and the NGOs when Italy sends back the migrants or when they capture them and return them or when they work with the Libyan government or whatever. You got to wonder, who are all these charities? Who's running all these charities and what is their end game? What is the motivation? Kind of ties in with the idea that perhaps this is by design. And I get called a lot of things, conspiracy theorist or Nazi or whatever, but look, I don't think it's going to end up good for anybody if we turn into some deracinated slave class. You have to understand that's what's coming. Jared Holt or left-wing people, Christopher Mathias, any one of these characters that report on us, I don't know how they don't see the obvious business interest in diversity. These people, they endorse it and they support it because they believe this is the cure to white supremacy. This is the POC rising up and punishing the white man, or it's equal and it's fair and, all this. How do they not see, if they oppose corporations and capitalism and the free market, how do they not see this is the ultimate end game of the free market? Do they ever realize, do they ever understand that they're working together, that the Koch brothers support this? You have Larry Reid, who is the former Senate Majority Leader for the Democrats, or Minority Leader, he was both at one point, who says, the Koch brothers are the source of all our problems. They support this stuff. They want this to happen. Shouldn't that give you an idea that it's really the big business interests and the banks that are saying we want a new world order of open trade and open migration and the free movement of goods and people? Like, that's their message. So I think it should be a wake-up call for these people to say, hey, wait a minute. The people I resent, who I believe are not working in the best interest of the country, people even like Destiny and Hassan, who say, a company like Disney doesn't push liberal messages because they believe in them, but because it motivates profit. Shouldn't that make you wonder why they're pushing mass immigration? And what the end game is there? That they're going to have all these different brown and cappuccino colored people that are just constantly fighting and slinging mud and shooting each other. That's the ultimate red pill. And that's, I guess, been the theme of the show for the whole week. Ultimate red pill. The end game, it's about the elites, right? And their plan for us. But anyway, that's the news. Not a whole lot that's really, this isn't a game changer. This is anything you haven't heard on poll before, but it's a slow news week, right? Slow news week. That's what you got. That's what I have to work with tonight, right? African migrants and illegal immigration, worst ever. That's our country, right? But, at the end of the day, you still got America first. I guess that's the real white pill is through it all. You got the America First show for laughs, for fun. We're going to take a look at our super chats. We'll see what you guys are saying about all this. We'll take a look at the unwashed masses tonight. PA says the U.S. has no culture. It's not worthy. America has culture. Probably some European fag saying this. America has based and red-pilled culture. Europeans are jealous because their culture is being gay. Kong says, what is the most base drug and why is it cocaine? Nothing based and red-pilled about drugs. I'm an anti-drug guy. No, drugs are not cool. Cocaine is not red-pilled. Cocaine kills people. So that's the you-know-what lobby talking that you're talking about drugs being cool. PA says, Trump says Israel first and America last. Yeah, I agree. Top says, when are you going to do the fast food tier list? I should probably do that one of these days. I don't know if that'll be a separate video or a D-live stream or what, but yeah, I think it's time. Because I saw one the other day and it wasn't very good. It wasn't accurate at all. So maybe it's time for that. You know what I'm putting at the top. You know what's right at the top, don't you? McDonald's, of course. Seth Rich says, Nick, let's talk about optics. If you give Candace Owens your seed and take a quick honeymoon in Israel, I can get you an unpaid internship at Fox. It's got nothing to do with optics, big guy. That's the thing. Everybody always thinks optics is about selling out or not actually saying what you believe. That's how the left... Isn't that interesting how the left reports on it the same way the Wignats talk about it? They say the optics movement is about lying about your views. It's never been about lying. For people that watch the show, do I not talk about, race mixing? Do I not talk about race? Do I not talk about Jewish power? Do I not talk about, the sacred cows that you're not allowed to talk about? Of course I talk about all of this and then some, but it's just about how do you present yourself. It's the optics. It's also about, are you trying to persuade people? And also, optics isn't about honeymooning in Israel and marrying Candace Owens. It's just about being palatable to normal people, which I think is true. I was on that Trainwrecks TV debate with Sargon of Akkad. And, that's critical. It's about enhancing opportunities as opposed to closing as many doors as possible by being edgy and goofy and ridiculous. Lauren Rose says, little Benji Shapiro doesn't seem so bright when he can't handpick a retarded campus commie girl to dunk on with Judeo-Christian facts and logic. Watching him rage quit that BBC interview was priceless. Yeah, I agree. And that's exactly what it is. He's somebody who, again, talk about an echo chamber. Talk about somebody, facts not caring about their feelings, right? My hair's looking, I need a haircut, man. I need a haircut sooner rather than later. Always distracting me. But yeah, that's exactly what happens. That's what would happen if he debated anybody who was a serious and authentic opponent. But who does he debate? He debates college kids, and he debates people that agree with him on 99% of issues. Jordan Peterson, Dave Rubin, the dark web, whatever. So, LPO says, hey, Nick, on the subject of the O&B comedian thing, I always thought you were like a young goy Jon Stewart. Did you ever take any inspiration from late night programs? Thank you. Enjoy your weekend. Not really. I was actually, I shouldn't say that. I was a big fan of Jimmy Fallon when I was younger. When I was in middle school, very early in high school, I was a big fan of Late Night with Jimmy Fallon. That's before he was on The Tonight Show. He was on at 11:36, and I would catch it every night. It was my favorite show. I know it's a little bit of a normie, kind of a cringe and normie take. I know. But I always loved that show. So I don't really give off a Jimmy Fallon vibe though, do I? So I don't think there was any inspiration there aside from me being a fan and watching the show. Most of my inspiration, I don't know. I don't think I really sat down ever and was like, I'm consciously going to emulate this person, I never had a hero who I was like, oh, I want to be just like Bill O'Reilly or somebody. So I think I just always, it's just a natural ability. Maybe many people can't relate, but Sam Hyde is probably the biggest influence, if there were any influence. Sam Hyde, my mom, probably it. My mom's pretty funny. And that side of the family's pretty funny. My dad's pretty funny too, I have to say that. But no late night people, especially not, no, I never watched Jon Stewart. I always hated Jon Stewart. And because he's a liberal, man. All these liberals in media, man, so no inspiration from Jon Stewart. But yeah, well, and I've been saying that for a long time. I think I tweeted one time, I'm really just kind of a comedian who happens to be political. And everybody's like, oh, that's Cope. Oh, you're trying to backtrack. Because that was during the Syria strike. I tweeted out, just an observation. I'm actually just kind of more like an entertainer than anything. Everyone's like, you're just trying to backtrack on your Syria take. You're just trying to. Turned out to be right, but on both counts. Mr. New Vegas says, the news has been brought to you by the Vicky and Vance Casino. Vicky and Vance be our partner in crime. Thank you, Mr. New Vegas. Always a pleasure. Marcus says, great shows. How do you have more charisma and sense than every mainstream public figure in my country? I wish Italy just annexed us, to be honest. Yeah, well, what country are you coming from? It's in euros, so I can't even tell. But yeah, I don't know. I guess us Italians are just born with it. When you're Italian, you have it. You just have that quality. We're a very charismatic people. Perhaps it's because Jesus Christ chose our country to be the seat of his church. Could have something to do with that, and the Roman Empire. Literally, if there were any God's chosen people, it would be us. How could it be the Jews? It's obviously us. If there were any chosen people, it would be the Romans, it would be the Italians, it would be us. So I guess that's your answer. How am I so handsome and smart? Well, because I'm Italian, of course. Elon says, reminder that Mr. New Vegas is a computer program. Yeah, that's probably why we get the spam super chats every night, right? Maybe he's a computer program. Lauren Rose says, chubby Nick is best, Nick. Keep eating the gabagool. I'm not chubby. I'm getting a little bit of a belly. But it's not, but I'm not chubby. And my face isn't chubby. You're not even like you see my belly because my mug's covering it. Can you see that? But I'm not chubby. Don't say that. That's the thing. One day I'm getting, that guy's a stick. That guy, he probably weighs 10 pounds. I want to beat him up. And then it's now I'm fat. You just can't win. You just can't win on the internet. That's all. You look like a baby. No, you look like an old man. Your suits make you look rich and you're out of touch. Your suit doesn't fit. Tell him to get a tailor. He's fat. He's too skinny. Driving me crazy. Like I'm looking in the mirror before the show and I punch it and then it's just a shattered glass and my reflection shattered symbolically, obviously showing that my personality is chaotic and dissonant. Hands bleeding. That's how I feel, That's what takes me. It's 25 minutes before the show starts and I'm looking in the mirror just like, you fat, you're ugly, Smash the mirror. It's just like in the Joker trailer. I'm truly becoming who I am. One of these days, somebody's gonna call me chubby one too many times, and I'm just gonna snap. All right. Temple Drake says, do that YouTube challenge where you let the person in front of you decide what you eat at McDonald's, mainly to see your reaction when you get the Filet-O-Fish. I would never do that. And I've tried the Filet-O-Fish. I hate it. I reviewed the Filet-O-Fish on a Periscope stream one time, like last year. And the joke was, I put up the stream, I said, reviewing the all-new Filet-O-Fish, or the fish fillet from McDonald's. And nobody got the joke. Nobody was even laughing. I was cracking up when I did it, but I said, here I am. I've got the all-new fish fillet. And the joke was, of course, this is not new at all. But of course, the joke is that this is a staple of the McDonald's menu. But I said, I'm going to try the new Filet-O-Fish. Nobody seemed to caught on to the joke. Maybe it wasn't that funny, I guess. But I don't like the white fish. Not a white fish guy. Not a fish eater. I guess, shellfish, but yeah, I would not order again. Would not recommend. Sherwood says, if you're not a wagey, how else will you feel the elation of finally making it to the weekend after a hard week's work, T. Anglo? Well, thank you for the big super chat. I do work hard during the week. I'm just not a wagey. I work hard for my bread. I work hard for my Big Mac, I work hard to put food on the table for my family over the week. Monday through Friday, that's a tough schedule, all right? Very grueling schedule. An hour a night, 5 days a week, that's tough. The commute from my room to my studio is like, it's a killer. So I don't know what you're talking about. Fridays feel just as good to me. And actually, I only have one day for a weekend because I got the Sunday show. Because on Sunday, I have to record and release my show on Sunday. So it's like, I don't even get to enjoy my weekend for that long. I get one day. I don't even get Friday night because I'm stuck with you guys. By the time the show's done, it's like 9 o'clock. So weekend, I don't even have the weekend. Wagies are lucky in that regard. Wagies have it better than I do. Wagey gets done with work on Friday at 4 or 5 o'clock. They're like, I'm free until Monday. Me, I'm slaving away in the content kitchen until late Friday. Saturday's my day off, and then it's back in the content kitchen on Sunday to promptly release a premium show on Sunday. And so I don't know what you're talking about. But thank you for the big super chat there. Samantha says, did you see Ben Shapiro get BTFO by BBC today? No, I must have missed it. Must have missed that. John says, Nick, who is better, Serbs or Croats? Have you ever met anyone from there? Remember, Croatians are Roman Catholic. Google Ustasa movement. Yeah, I did know, actually, Serbs and Croats when I was in high school. Very interesting, actually. Throughout my time in school, whether it's elementary school, middle school, high school, all the Eastern European kids stuck together. And it, not as a group, I mean their own separate countries. The Serbian kids all knew each other. The Croatian kids all knew each other. The Armenian kids all knew each other. All those little groups, I think there was Albanians. They all knew each other. It really makes you think, right? And I knew these Croatians. They were twins. And they were funny, man. They were funny. And I knew this one Serbian kid who I went to elementary school with. I don't know. I would have to say the Croats were kind of more based in red pill. No offense, Steven. But the Croats were a little bit more based in red pill than the Serbs. I like the Croats. So I'd have to go with them. And they, like you said, they're Roman Catholic as well. So shout out to my friend Dennis, the old Croats, we love them, good people. But I don't want to take a side, all right? I'm not a Balkan, okay? I'm not some Slav, so I don't want to wade into that controversy. Like Bismarck said, some damn silly thing in the Balkans. I'm not about that, okay? It's all the same to me. Lauren Rose says, Nick, Sam Hyde, Mike Ma, and the Irony Bros equals the intellectual dark web. Yeah, that's the real intellectual dark web. Beardson, Beardley, Sean, Paul Town, Mike Ma, me, Sam Hyde, TV Qua, Gabe. Who else? That's the real intellectual dark web, I would say. Party Goy, he's in there. Gabriel says, do you think whites are required to build successful nations? Arthur de Gobineau, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, thought so. But I'd say so can Asians. In fact, our adventurous spirit might end up destroying us, split the world 50-50. Yeah, Asians have built successful nations, obviously. You see that in Japan. But maybe, here's the thing, though. Japanese are separate from all the others. Even Sam Huntington wrote about this in Clash of Civilizations, that Japanese civilization is separate from Sino civilization, which is China and Southeastern Asia. So Asians, they don't come all the same. Japanese are really unique in that regard. Can you say that China is a successful country? Can you say Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Thailand? Can we say these are successful? I don't know. So it's really a little bit more complex than that. So I think, yeah, Europeans have been proven to be the only ones who are able to have repeat success, I think. And like America can, even the colonial ones. So all these countries are successful versus, can you find a single one in Latin America, Africa, Southeast Asia? Not really. The Middle East? Nope. No, you can't, actually. You really can't. And people might point in Latin America to Argentina. Well, take a look at the demographics of Argentina. How many of them have European ancestry? So, yeah, I think that's probably true, ultimately. Elon says, it's all facts, Facts don't care about your feelings. Elon says, did you see Ben Shapiro get destroyed by BBC? No, I'll have to look at that after the show. Temple says, you're looking pretty buff tonight, big guy. Were you hitting the gym? Is that why you were 25 minutes late? Yeah, actually it is. I was just getting done wrapping up my deadlifts, my bench press, I was over in the gym. That's why I was late. I was in the shower because I was lifting so much today. Yeah, I guess you could say I am looking pretty buff these days. I guess you could say I'm getting pretty swollen. I'm looking pretty swollen. Bro, you're looking pretty swollen today. Damn, bro. You look really swollen. Is that swollen today? Yeah, I guess you could say I'm looking pretty large and in charge because I've been hitting the gym so much, because I've been hitting the weights. Yeah, well, thanks for noticing, actually. Everyone's calling me chubby. No, really, it's muscle. You see the veins in my neck? Jared Holt says, well, I don't know, can you? If I make a face, maybe. Jared Holt says I have veins in my neck because I'm an angry Nazi or something. It's actually just, I can't help my veins bulging out because I've been lifting, because my neck is so strong. So, Ron Sun says, Nick, have you seen the video of the Las Vegas Turning Point USA leader using racial epithets directed towards the darker race and saying white power? No, I didn't see that. I unironically didn't see that. I'll have to check that out after the show. Let me Google that. Let's see. Turning Point USA president removed in a viral video. Leader of Las Vegas chapter of Turning Point USA seen giving alt-right okay sign while friend screams, "We're going to run the world." White power, N-words. Oh, come on. So based. That's so perfect, though. And it's funny because these Turning Point fags, they bailed on me at Iowa because they're like, this guy's not on our authorized speakers list. His views are unacceptable. And how many times has this happened with Turning Point, that they have an episode like this? So that's perfect. Love it. Love it. Like it, love it, gotta have it, as they say. As they say. Rian says, I gotta go up to the office and get a stern talking to by the principal and vice principal because some teacher overheard me say USS Liberty. Oy vey. Oy vey indeed. Well, hey, you know what that means. Gotta red pill the principal. That's what's gotta happen. Gotta prepare yourself. Get your notes together. You want to be prepared with a couple of note cards, perhaps. They sit you down. So I heard you talked about the USS Liberty. And then it's the opportunity, the one at a time. Got to go jaywalking in the principal's office. That's funny. Why? I don't know why anybody would be offended by that. American soldiers dying. I don't think that's a laughing matter. I don't think that's anything. You're a patriot for talking about this. David says, Journo, 109 countries. Shapiro runs away crying. Yeah. Hyman says 110. Not sure what that's a reference to. Anand says, roses are red, violets are blue. I'm still banned on Twitter. Pee pee poo poo. Tough luck, my friend. Sorry to hear that. Big Mike says, did you see the pro Jared shit show? Was funny watching his career go up in flames over the past couple of days. Yeah, I did see that. Pretty funny. I don't know. I do have a problem with that kind of culture where it's like people's careers go up in flames and there's like YouTubers that are dedicated to like, oh boy, this is amazing. Look at their follower count drop. That's a little, I don't know if I like that. Not that I don't participate and think it's funny, but I don't know. I see that side and I'm like, that's kind of you're just kind of a bad person. Not that it's not okay to laugh at somebody's misfortune, but that people's whole career is like, oh boy, this person's life is being destroyed. This person's got the funniest jokes whenever that happens, and they're like, and I don't mean to sound like I'm virtue signaling or anything. I think it's funny. I enjoy and participate in that as well. When people's whole career is dedicated to the drama happening, it's like, that's kind of dumb to me. But yeah, pretty funny what happened to him. Pretty interesting. Michael says, how do you think Ben would handle our super chats? He couldn't. Nobody can, I'm convinced. That's the thing. Live streaming as I do, very specialized skill. Not many people can do this, okay? Talk about specialized skill. I should teach a college course in this because I don't think everybody's up to it, Pablo says, oy vey, Mr. Neal is being very anti-Semitic. I agree. Very anti-Semitic to ask those questions. Really good, says the female filter of myself. Looks exactly like Cassie Dillon. Now I just need to get the ass tattoo to match. Spelled their name wrong, but the super chat would not send unless I got rid of the Y. Interesting. It's not an ass tattoo, I have to tell you. Everybody assumes it's a genital tattoo. It's not ass, not on the other side. I'm not telling anybody where it is, but I know where it is, Cassie. And she knows I know. And I know she knows I know where the tattoo is. And I'm not telling anybody. I know what the tattoo is of. I know exactly where it is. I know where you can find it. And if she ever, unless she's had it removed, if she ever challenged me, I could say, do this. And she wouldn't be able to do it because it would reveal her tattoo. So, anyway, but that's interesting. Really good comics. That's good to know. Michael says, became a premium member during the week. Great chat with JLP. Nice guy. Don't go anywhere, mate. Love your show. Well, thanks. And thanks for becoming a premium member. Hey, thank you for becoming a $5 a month premium member. Link in the description. So you can watch the exclusive Jesse Lee Peterson interview. I'm glad you enjoyed it. But thanks for the support. I'm not going anywhere. I'm hanging around. Mine says, I won't have you slander the tribe, Goy. It was 6 gazillion rockets. Never forget. Ha ha! Oh! Ooh! That's hilarious, dude. That's hilarious. The Hitler Avi, Mine Lives Matter. Dude, that joke is so funny. I know that you are based in Red Pill. I know that you are a funny person because you said this. This joke makes me laugh. Mark says, does the J in NickJFuentes stand for Judeo-Christian? Yeah, you got it. Pro-Truth says, memory eternal to the martyrs of the Shimabara uprising here to hopes. Christianity rises here again in Japan. Also want to talk on Sam Hyde. What's your favorite Google Hangout skit? Whiz fart. Thank you. Thank you for that. Shyster says, Nick, what do you think about Chick-fil-A? It's delicious and they're based. I like it. I talked about it yesterday. I like them. But I don't know. They're just not my favorite, okay? All right. Pro-Truth says, check out my video on Khaled K. Al-Hamedi and look up the something Tawerga genocide along with LAFG and blah, blah. We committed horrible crimes in Libya that have been wiped under the rug. Okay, thank you. Mark Thomas is as a directionless Zoomer for the past 3 years. Black pill brought away from God. Thank you for helping me and bringing me back to God. Hey, you're welcome, Zoomer. Good to hear it. Glad to hear you're back on track. Save your money. Save your money. Go to church. But good to hear it, my friend. Lauren Rose says it's just the same things over and over. First 3 weeks, Holocaust. Next 3 weeks, Black History Month. 3 weeks after that, big tests, final grades. That's a good one. Now, that's a funny one. That one made me laugh. Now, that one made me chuckle. That's a good one. Dat Boy says, should I join the Saudi mug club or get all subs genuine boomer coin? Get my mug. How about you join my mug club first? Hello. Save your money. T-shirts coming out very soon this week, I promise. Landbort says that feel when you'll never be able to be friends with Nick IRL. Nick is basically the e-girl you donate to despite having no chances of connecting. Yeah, I know. I know I'm a really high value commodity, right? Really hot commodity right now these days. Yeah, I guess you could say I'm like an e-girl. Now, people say that a lot, but here's the difference. I'm actually funny, okay? By their very nature, e-girls cannot be funny and more interesting. So I give you content. I reassure you I'm like your friend. It's a friend simulator. You, who's listening to this as a podcast while you're working out, while you're playing a game, while you're playing Minecraft, while you're going to bed. I am your friend, okay? And you pay me for interesting, relatable, funny takes, and you just don't get that from anybody else. You don't get that from e-girls. So I reject this comparison, but who knows? Maybe we'll connect. Maybe there will be a meetup one day, and we'll be best friends. Logan says, love the show. Used to listen on Spotify while going to work. Whoever was uploading them has stopped for some reason. Do you know anything about this? I didn't even know I was on Spotify. So that's news to me. That's news to me, but good to know, I guess. Josh says, the night is darkest before the dawn. Exactly, yeah, in more ways than one, right? Darkest before the dawn. Really, no pun intended when we look at Europe. James Russells says, oops, scroll down too far. James Russell says, you sure about that rumor of Nikki Haley? WTF. Like I said, it's just a rumor. But I've heard this from many, many, many people. Well, I've heard it I heard it from QAnon. QAnon told me that many people told QAnon that this was happening. And then another person aside from QAnon told me that. So I don't know for sure, but I've heard this from a lot of people that it's getting serious. Michigan Wave says Americans are habituated to fleeing diversity by moving to the burbs and taking comfort in First, Second Amendments. In Europe, they are forced to stand their ground and assess how radical the change is. Exactly right. That's a big part of it, certainly. God's Plan says the online civil war is going to be a mass doxing of rebels, hacks, browser history, ex-friends and family, telling all on Facebook and more. Could be. Or it'll be in Minecraft. That's where the Civil War will be. It'll be like in that movie Surrogates, basically. That'll be the Civil War. It'll be your Minecraft clan versus our Minecraft clan. And ours is going to win. Because everybody knows that only white people play Minecraft, for the most part. And we're the only ones that are really good at it. So it's going to be, it's like Ben Shapiro said, the creepers prefer to bomb stuff. Creepers prefer to bomb crap and live in open sewage. But the villagers prefer to build things, So that's how I see it. That's how I see the Minecraft Civil War going down, in short. Patty says only Catholic America could have solved these issues. Problem is that Catholic America went extinct. Joined the Protestants in degenerate materialist secularism. Only Catholics can save America. Yeah, that seems to be the case, unironically. Who are all the reactionary conservatives? Are all Catholics for the most part. So I agree. Mr. Shade says Trudeau says Canada has no culture, eh? I didn't see that, but wouldn't be surprised. Josh says definitely watch the 2016 campaign highlights. Trump was so legit and an actual man. Now he's a complete shell of that. Sad. Yeah, it's disappointing. He used to be so based, so tough and cool. He was the father of a new nation, and now he's just some boomer, Very disappointing. He's a different man. You say it very well. Patty McGill says only a Irish, Germanic, Catholic America can create an anti-cosmopolitan safe zone. Interview E. Michael Jones. He is the greatest American historian. Jones knows why Chicago is no longer great. Be Catholic. Thank you, Patty. Ira Science, says Afghan-American Nicker here. Gotten several friends and family members to watch America First, and some are slowly getting red pill. Thanks and great show tonight. Hey, thanks. Good to hear. Good to hear that the Afghans are getting red pilled. Ben says, hey, Nick, what's the nicest, most expensive luxury good you've bought for yourself? I don't buy luxury goods. I don't buy, what's the most expensive luxury good I bought for myself? That's a good question. I don't know. I don't buy watches. I don't buy clothes. I don't buy anything. What's the last thing I even bought? A couple of books. I couldn't tell you. The most expensive thing that I pay for is travel. But I travel mostly for for the show. Like when I go to CPAC or whatever. But it's mostly just traveling, and I don't travel that often, so I don't really buy luxury goods. I'm not a luxury kind of a guy. I'm a simple man. Let's see. Dan says, 29-year-old boomer here. Back in 2005, I saw Kanye in a Borders bookstore in central Pennsylvania. Since I didn't make a scene, he hooked me and my buddy up with 2 free tickets at will. At will call? I don't know what that means, but he says, solid dude, ready for Yandi. Wow, that's a good story. Pretty cool. I'm excited for Yandi, too. I'm jealous that he got to meet Kanye. I want to meet Kanye. I'm excited for Yandi whenever it drops, but how long has it been, right? Daddy Boom says, I'm disgusted with this new anti-Semitic rhetoric from these so-called nationalists. Funny they forget that their savior was Jewish. Follow @boomerangism. Okay, thank you for the plug. Josh says, Nick turning into chubby Richard McSpencer. I'm not chubby. I'm skinny. My body looks good, okay? My body looks great. It looks just fine. And I'm not chubby. All right, my BMI is almost underweight, actually. So I'm having serious body image issues, and you're not helping. Marcus says, Slovenia for the Italy annex in before Slavnag. Well, it is kind of Slavic, isn't it? So, Leo says, hey, Nick, fish fillet isn't good, but was started because of Lent, somewhat based at least. Yeah, that's pretty based. Lauren Rose says, your Italy sounds like Mike Ma acceleration. Basically. USVR says, hey, big guy, did you know the Earth is rotating around the sun at 66,600 miles per hour at a 66.6 degree tilt? Wow, space is so cool. Is that true? I don't know, but I wouldn't doubt it. Kawa says, did you see Ben Shapiro getting destroyed by pee-pee poo-poo today? I did see that one, yeah. Running Wild says, you see the Cubs fan being banned from the stadium for the upside-down OK sign. I sent it to my normie friend, and he couldn't believe it. Honk, honk. Yeah, I saw that. My parents brought it up with me. And I had to explain to them the difference between this and this. They didn't understand. My mom, she said, is that the upside-down peace sign? I'm like, Ma. Come on. She's like, no, I mean the OK sign. I'm like, sure you did. Upside-down peace sign. Peace be with you, right? No, kidding, Mom. It's just jokes, all right? But yeah, I think he was doing this, wasn't he? And not this. They're different. This means white power. White power. And this means gotcha. That means that's like a hi, got you, got him. So, but they are different. I think he was doing this one. But yeah, PC gone mad. Absolutely. Mistress says, what should be done to stop the liberalization of the church? You'd be a quality cardinal. Also, shout out to Hoff. He is ugly. I don't know who Hoff is. I wouldn't be a good cardinal. I'm not pious enough. I love all this. You don't have casual sex. You should be the Pope. I don't know. Doubt. And what should be done to stop the liberalization of the church? Not just go to church. I don't know why everybody wants to do something. You just go to church. Be a good person in the church. Temple Drake says, wait, Nick, we want a t-shirt with your face on it and not the America First logo. Very important. Maybe we'll do that. We'll do a logo t-shirt, maybe a face shirt. I don't know. Mr. Shades says, BBC notices things. Shapiro, oy vey, shut it down. Basically what happened, yeah. Logan says, whoops, scroll too far down. Man, I hate super chats. Relatable. James says, also, am I stupid in asking if I can watch all premium videos as a premium member? Might sign up because I'm a dumb, wealthy Jew. Yeah, you get all the shows. So you get 20 plus shows, 22 shows actually. And some of them are 2 hours. So check it out. Kyler says most of what Jon Stewart did was joke on Fox News. They cause others to blaspheme the right. Sad because they were the chosen network. Yeah, true. CPB says boxers or briefs. Boxer briefs. But I don't like this question. I don't like this. I don't like the questions about that area generally. But it looks like that's our last super chat. That's our last super chat. So that's going to do it for us tonight. I'm tired, man. I'm tired. Long week, long day. That's going to do it for us on the show tonight. Remember to check us out at NickJFuentes.com/membership. $5 a month to become a premium member, and you get one additional show every week, plus the back catalog. So check it out. Link is down below. Remember to subscribe to the channel and give us a big thumbs up. Leave a comment down below. Click the notification bell to get notified every time I go live. Remember, we are on the air Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm Nicholas J. Fuentes. As always, thank you guys for watching. Hey, thanks. Thanks to our super chatters. Thanks to our premium members. Thanks to everybody who watches. We love you, folks, and we will see you on Monday. Until then, have a great weekend and have a great rest of your evening.
Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo. It's going to be only America first. America first.